Welcome to Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in episode 2 of The Boys. Now, in case you missed it, we uploaded our episode 1 Easter egg a little bit earlier today, and if you haven't seen it, give it a watch when you're done with this one. The episode begins with a commercial for a movie on the network VTV, a Vought network marketed toward women, and this is a play on the Lifetime network. This movie, in fact, is a spoof of the infamous Lifetime movies. Notice the name of this network is even in the Lifetime font. Vought is trying to clean up the Deep's Q rating among women after the allegations of sexual harassment levied against him by Stardust. And they're doing this by blaming it all on the Church of the Collective. Billy Zane is here, even playing church head Alistair Adana. He's great. He was the Phantom. The reason Vought is scapegoating the church is because, as far as we know, they are the only other entity that has any control over Supes. They are challenging Vaught's monopoly on the industry.
I had to find out if you were putting the church first.
It's very appropriate that the episode begins with a television program showing a lie, and it ends with another television program showing people the truth. That's how Homelander really feels. More on that later. The ad for Homelander's birthday party was hilarious.
Rascal Flatts, Supersonic, the cast of Riverdale.
He lists the cast of Riverdale and random celebrities that have no connection whatsoever to each other, except that they were probably available. Butcher is watching the show, and suddenly he sees his brother Lenny. Now, Lenny was always able to calm down Butcher and curb his violent tendencies. It's also an indication that Butcher is starting to lose his mind, just like Homelander is. Now, it's interesting to see how the show is drawing all these similarities between Homelander and Butcher. They both think that they can operate above the law. They're both foul-mouthed, egotistical, and violent. And now we see that Butcher is willing to become even more like Homelander, taking Compound V to laser people to death. In this episode, both Butcher and Homelander try and fail to connect with people they care about. Butcher hurts Ryan's feelings, and Homelander can't get Stormfront to wish him happy birthday. We find out that Red River is a Soup children's orphanage, not the Blackwater type organization that it is in the comics. Or is it?
Sir, happy birthday. I'm
Supersonic, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Great to meet you.
You too.
It's really sad to see Supersonic go through the same disillusionment that Starlight did. It shows that Vaught's propaganda runs so deep that even the Supes within their own organization buy into it. And of course, ordinary people buy into it too, especially kids. MM's daughter loves Supes, and Butcher rubs this in by bringing them a puzzle of Vought Tower. Okay, so this interaction leads MM to go through his Soldier Boy clippings. And from last episode's newspapers, we learned that Soldier Boy was responsible for the deaths of MM's mother and siblings, and that his dad spent years trying to sue Vought before he finally died. These clippings show a pattern of Soldier Boy being careless and using extreme force. For instance, this one mentions a mugging in Central Park and Soldier Boy forcing a false confession. This is likely a reference to the wrongful conviction of the Central Park Five. That's 5 innocent men convicted of a rape who years later were vindicated. Soldier Boy is a veteran of World War II, like Edgar mentioned last season.
Heroes like Soldier Boy, killing Germans by the dozen.
And it's likely that, for him, the war never ended, and he kept using the same brutal tactics to fight crime at home. And then we go to Voughtland. We see the Payback coaster, and the Payback are the boys' version of the Avengers. She and Frenchie walk through Brave Maeve's inclusive kingdom, which is careful to say here that there is a castle for everyone. Remember, Vought rebranded Maeve as a lesbian and immediately co-opted several social justice causes so everyone could feel better about themselves for accepting her. The real joke here is that Maeve is bi, not a lesbian, and that Vought crafted her identity into what straight people think a lesbian is. For instance, the veggie taco stand, which featured symbolically oppressed tacos and intersectional tacos. There's also the BLM BLT, which reduces the Black Lives Matter movement into a sandwich. There's also the woke walk and the LGBT turkey legs. But why co-opt these movements with food? Well, because these movements actually deal with very complex, historical, systemic issues. But Vought wants to simplify the movements into something that's easily digestible for the public. Now that is symbolic. It sure is. Then they go to watch a show about Soldier Boy, which seems like a parody of Rogers the Musical in the MCU. I could do this all which was also a parody of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. This film is also reminiscent of the Smithsonian movie that celebrated Steve Rogers in Captain America the Winter Soldier. The film mentions
America's exceptionalism.
Now, American exceptionalism is the idea that all Americans are just inherently better than other people, which isn't true, but all Americans are inherently better than heavy spoilers. American exceptionalism also says that we have to stand up to defend the rest of the world. Now, there is a lot of American exceptionalism rooted in the popularity of superheroes, especially back in the 1940s. And then we see Soldier Boy starring in very fake movies just like Steve did in the first Avenger. But Steve Rogers was always a fairly liberal, New Deal Democrat. But this guy is 100% a conservative who even named names during the Joe McCarthy hearings.
I have a list right here of avowed communists.
Now, these hearings were a modern-day witch hunt by part-time senator and full-time drunk Joe McCarthy that attempted to find communists working in show business and the government. It's now considered a very dark era of American politics, but in a world where superheroes were real, naming names is still celebrated. We also see Soldier Boy with conservative icons Ronald Reagan and Chuck Heston, as well as partying with a human piece of bat stool named Hugh Hefner, and apparently he dated Princess Diana and hell, probably caused her death. And then we meet Laurie Holden as the Crimson Countess. That's the boy's answer to the Scarlet Witch. Now, I love that Payback are now so much less popular than the Seven that they're reduced to performing in theme park shows with like 12 people in the audience. And oh my god, her obsession with chimps.
You know that chimps are physically incapable of crying, but that doesn't mean they're not crying on the inside.
Amazing. Homelander wants to bring out dancers in sexy Starlight costumes. Now, in Season 1, Vought tried to make her wear a skimpy outfit, but these uniforms are much more like the ones she was forced to wear in the comics. And hey, speaking of appropriating cultural movements for financial gain, how about A-Train? He wants to create a show that is like Roots, the groundbreaking miniseries that follows the lives of an African family from their kidnapping and enslavement through the Civil War. He also wants to create a VR game called The Middle Passage. This was the route that slavers took when they kidnapped people from Africa, transported them to America, and then went to Europe with the cotton or sugar cane that they were selling. Also, notice the logo is designed to look like the PS4. Hughie goes to Red River, which seems a lot more like the G-Mansion in the comics. So in the comics, the X-Men's counterpart is the G-Men, and they're actually a cover for a decades-old pedophile ring. Also, notice this A-Train poster that reads, "There are no shortcuts to anywhere worth going," which is ironic because he wants to use his blackness as a shortcut for regaining fame. Now, the kids in Red River are creepy as hell. These are all children who were orphaned when they killed their parents. But this teleporting guy caught my eye. This is Teddy Stillwell, as in the son of Madeline Stillwell. So, does this mean that she adopted a super baby? Maybe she was looking for some insurance against Homelander. Or maybe this kid is Homelander's son or his clone. Then we get the revelation that Stan Edgar raised Victoria Nueman, which is probably why he was watching her so intently on television last season. He was proud of her. Butcher goes to a gun show where packing a firearm is encouraged.
There you go. Nice piece.
He's tracking down Gunpowder, a former member of Payback who seems like a combination of Punisher and Hawkeye, given how accurate they both are with their weapons. There's also a dash of Winter Soldier thrown in there because he is the former sidekick of Soldier Boy, just like Bucky was the sidekick of Captain America. And this character was also mentioned in a Vought news video.
Retired superhero Gunpowder, best known as a member of the legendary group Payback, unveiled his junior shooter program in partnership with the Vought Rifle Association.
He calls Secretary Singer,
"If Dakota Bob Singer gets elected president, will you say hello to left-wing socialism?"
and I think this is the first time we've heard him called that. In the comics, Dakota Bob was president, and he was very tough on the Supes. He was replaced by Vic the Veep, who worked for Vought, and who is a gender-swapped Victoria Nueman in the show. So, Butcher confronts Gunpowder with his accusations of pedophilia on Soldier Boy.
Like I hadn't heard that sidekick pedo shit 1,000 times before.
It's a running suspicion that heroes with sidekicks, like Batman and Robin, are abusing their wards. In the 1950s, a notable loudmouth named Frederick Wortham wrote an anti-comic book called Seduction of the Innocent, where he outright accused Batman and Robin of being homosexuals. So then Homelander shows up to stop a woman from committing suicide at the exact same moment his ex is committing suicide. During this talk, he basically tells this lady that he thinks he is God. He says that he's like Jesus because they don't know when his real birthday is, and claims that he was even
Immaculate conception.
While down below, Ashley says,
"Storm for $1 Million Baby herself. It's horrible."
A reference to the brilliant Hilary Swank and Clint Eastwood movie. Later we see pro-Stormfront protesters carrying tiki torches like those Charlottesville Nazis. There's even a gag here in the Chiron that reads that Home Depot is out of tiki torches. Frenchie tries to comfort Kamiko by telling her that they're going to Six Flags, another theme park that features superhero-based rides. Butcher learns that, like I guess, Soldier Boy was working for the CIA, but he's surprised to hear that he was working for Grace Mallory. Now in the comics, Mallory was a man named Greg Mallory, who was the original leader of the Boys, who were a Black Ops team in the comics. In this show, Grace Mallory supported the Boys when they blackmailed Lamplighter, but they were never an official part of the CIA. It is interesting to hear that Mallory used to run a team of Supes. I wonder if something in this experience turned her against them and made her assemble her own covert team of people who also hate superhumans. And then Homelander just out and spits some truth.
You need me to save you! I am the only one who possibly can.
There seems to be a parallel here with this.
I alone can fix it.
You know what I think? I think people are going to love Homelander for this, and he's going to get like a deep cult following that wants him to run for president. Admitting that you are weak and you need a strong man to protect you is a pretty fascist attitude. But remember what Stormfront said.
People love what I have to say. They just don't like the word Nazi.
Well, that's all the Easter eggs we found, but if you found any, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe and smash that bell. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.